Let me tell you something most people will never dare to say out loud. The moment you share your happiness with the world, you invite the wolves to your celebration. Not everyone clapping is rooting for you. Some are just counting the seconds until you fall. We live in a world obsessed with broadcasting. The moment something good happens, we feel the pressure to tell someone, to post it, to tweet it, to let the world know we're finally smiling. And at first, it feels harmless, even beautiful. Here's the truth people don't want to admit. The more visible your happiness becomes, the more vulnerable it becomes. Every time you share your joy too quickly, you invite interpretation, opinions, and energy that doesn't belong to the purity of that moment. It's like opening a fresh wound to hands that don't know how to heal. Happiness, real happiness, is sacred. It deserves silence before applause. You see, there's a certain power in keeping something for yourself. In a world where everything is loud, everything is instant, everything is shared, privacy becomes strength and your happiness. It isn't content. It isn't for the crowd. When you water a plant, you don't rip it from the soil and show it to everyone just because you see the first sprout. You let it grow. You nurture it in silence, in stillness, away from curious eyes. Your happiness deserves the same respect. Let it grow where no one can trample it. The truth is, not everyone in your circle wants to see you rise. That smile you share, that light in your eyes. For some, it's a mirror that reflects what they lack. And instead of being inspired, they turn bitter. Not because of you, but because your joy threatens their comfort in misery. You share too much. You give access to people who don't deserve to hold that energy. Trust me, some will use it to twist your story, to minimize your win, to bring shadows where there was once only light. It's not about paranoia. It's about wisdom. We've been conditioned to think that secrecy is selfish, that not telling the world every good thing that happens is somehow wrong. Let me ask you, when was the last time oversharing truly made you feel safe? When was the last time validation from the outside world made your happiness feel more real? The answer is, it doesn't. Validation is temporary. But the peace you build when you guard your joy, that lasts. That becomes unshakable because it was never built on approval. It was built on presence. There is a kind of freedom that only comes when you realize you don't owe anyone access to your light. You don't need to explain your peace. You don't need to put your smile on display to prove you're doing okay. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is live quietly, win silently, and let your energy speak for you. Protecting your happiness isn't weakness, it's leadership. It's choosing peace over performance. Choosing peace over performance. In a world that thrives on noise, the one who protects their joy in silence becomes untouchable. So if something beautiful is happening in your life right now, hold it close. Let it be yours, not because you're hiding, but because you're honoring it. Happiness doesn't need an audience to be real. It needs a heart strong enough to carry it. And when you learn how to celebrate in silence, you'll discover something powerful. Your joy doesn't just survive without the world's approval. It thrives. The hardest truth you'll ever have to accept is this. People don't always celebrate you. They calculate you. You think you're sharing your happiness with friends, family, or co-workers. But what you're really doing is handing them a measuring stick. So, the moment you speak about your blessings, some people don't feel joy for you. They feel pressure. Your growth makes them question their stagnation. Your light becomes a spotlight on their darkness. And instead of clapping for you, they start counting your money, your success, your steps forward, and wondering why it's not happening for them. You can't control how people receive your happiness. You can only control how much access they get to it. And too often, we assume loyalty based on proximity. But just because someone stands close doesn't mean they stand with you. You'd be shocked how many people sit at your table with envy in their hearts. They smile, they nod, they toast to your wins, but behind closed doors, they're hoping you trip. Why? Because your rise threatens the comfort of their excuses. It reminds them of what they haven't done, what they could have done, and what they're still afraid to do. Some people don't want to see you shine. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your light disrupts their shadows. You talk about your relationship, they pick it apart. You mention a new opportunity, they question how you got it. You share your peace, they plant seeds of doubt. And it's subtle, it's never direct. They won't attack you, they'll undermine you. A comment here, a smirk there, a backhanded compliment that leaves you questioning yourself. That's not support, that's sabotage dressed in polite conversation. This is where discernment becomes your armor. You have to understand, not every listener is safe. Safe. Some people listen with ears full of judgment, not curiosity. Some hear your good news and file it away. Not because they care, but because they're keeping score. And that scoreboard? It's not even real. It's based on competition you never signed up for. You're living your life. They're keeping track of your wins as if it somehow takes something away from theirs. And when people live like that, your happiness becomes a threat they feel compelled to neutralize. You don't need that kind of energy near your joy. You don't need to explain your progress to people who only want to dissect it. There's a kind of strength in being selective, in knowing that not everyone deserves to be included in your moments of peace, love, or celebration. The people who truly care about you won't need an announcement. They'll feel it. They'll see the glow in your eyes and smile without needing details. They'll be happy for you without making it about them. Those are the ones worth opening up to. The rest, let them wonder. So when something good happens, pause. Before you share it, ask yourself, am I sharing this for connection or for validation? Am I speaking from joy or from a need to prove something? Because if you're speaking from joy, you won't need a crowd. You'll know that the right people already feel your wins, even in silence. And the wrong ones? Let them stay in the dark. You don't owe your happiness to anyone who hasn't shown they can handle it with honor. There's a certain magic in silence. Not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that's full of power. In a world obsessed with noise, being silent is an act of rebellion. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop putting your joy on display for people to judge or dissect, you reclaim your power. You shift the energy. You stop dancing for approval and start walking in truth. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It says, I don't need your permission to be at peace. And that kind of energy, it shakes people. Because most don't know how to handle someone who is content without being seen. Privacy is not about hiding. It's about holding something so sacred that the outside world doesn't deserve access to it. When you keep your joy private, you protect it from the noise, the doubt, the projections of people who haven't done the inner work to understand it. People will ask questions, they'll push for answers, but you'll feel the strength in not giving them what they expect. Because not everything needs to be explained. Not every win needs to be shared. Not every beautiful thing needs an audience. Some things are meant to be lived quietly, deeply, and fully, without a single post, without a single applause. There's a reason the most powerful moments in your life feel the most personal. Naz. Think about the times when you were truly at peace. Maybe it was early morning, the sun just breaking in, and for a second, the world felt still. No cameras, no cameras, no announcements, just you and the moment. That's real. That's untouched by ego. But we've been trained to trade those moments for visibility, for likes, for validation. And the more we chase that kind of attention, the more disconnected we become from the very joy we're trying to celebrate. You don't need the world to see your happiness to know that it's real. You just need to feel it. Feel it. When you learn to celebrate in silence, you build something unshakable. Because what the world doesn't know, it can't criticize. What they can't see, they can't ruin. And that doesn't mean you live in fear. It means you live in strength. You've outgrown the need for everyone's approval. You stopped performing. That's freedom. You can be happy without putting it on display. You can win without announcing it. You can shine without stepping into the spotlight. That doesn't make your joy smaller. It makes it more yours. People confuse silence with absence. They think if you're not posting, not talking, not sharing, you must not be doing well. Let them think that. Let them underestimate. Let them guess. You're not here to prove anything to anyone. Your silence is not empty, it's focused. It's full of intention, of healing, of building something real away from the chaos. When you choose privacy, you're not retreating, you're protecting. You're guarding something that matters. And in that space, your happiness grows stronger, deeper, untouchable by the noise outside. This is what most people never understand. It's something you protect. And once you stop handing it out for approval, once you stop explaining it to people who aren't even rooting for you, you step into a different level of power, a different level of peace. The kind that doesn't need an audience. The kind that speaks loudest when you say nothing at all. Because when you carry your joy with quiet confidence, the world will feel it, without you having to say a single word. There is something deeply powerful about becoming unpredictable. The moment you stop announcing your every move, your every win, your every feeling, you begin to build a presence that commands attention without ever asking for it. When people can't read you, they can't control you. So, they can't prepare for your next step, can't strategize around your growth, can't use your own words to box you in. And in a world that thrives on oversharing, being a mystery becomes a form of dominance. You're not hiding. You're rising. Strategically, quietly, unshakably, quietly, unshakably. Your silence speaks in ways your words never could. It shows discipline. It shows intention. It shows that you're not addicted to applause or validation. Most people want to be seen. They crave recognition. But those who are truly secure in their journey don't need to be seen. They need to be fulfilled. When you're working on something meaningful, something sacred, you protect it from exposure. And that's what makes your success so much more potent. It was born in solitude, built in private, strengthened in silence. So when it finally arrives, it doesn't need to be explained. It speaks for itself. When people don't know what you're doing, they can't interfere. They can't plant seeds of doubt. They can't offer backhanded advice disguised as concern. They can't dilute your momentum with unnecessary questions or passive judgment. That's why mystery is more than an aesthetic. It's a strategy. It's how you keep your energy clean. Because not every opinion deserves a place in your process. Not every voice should echo in your decisions. And not every celebration needs an audience. Some things gain power simply because they are kept out of reach. Understand this. The more people know, the more they feel entitled to comment. And even when their words don't come from malice, they still carry weight. They still sit in your mind, taking up space that should be reserved for belief, for clarity, for vision. But when you stop talking, when you stop giving people access to your internal world, that space becomes yours again. You don't second guess. You don't second guess. You don't shift based on someone else's limited view. You move from your own truth. You move with precision. And that makes you unstoppable. Let them wonder. Let them invent their own stories about you. Some will assume you've disappeared. Some will think you're struggling. Let them. While they're speculating, you're evolving. While they're talking, you're building. The less you say, the more powerful your presence becomes. Because eventually, the results will speak louder than your words ever could. Your life will shift so boldly that people won't be able to ignore it, even if you never said a word. That's what happens when you stop explaining and start embodying. You don't owe anyone access to your process. You don't need to post it, prove it, or make it palatable. Let your silence protect your vision. Let it strengthen your foundation. Let it be the force that keeps your spirit focused and your path clear. Because while the world is busy watching each other, performing for each other, trying to outshine each other, you'll be walking a completely different road. You'll be walking a completely different road. Content. One built in quiet, driven by purpose, and destined for greatness no one saw coming. Not because you weren't capable, but because you chose not to announce it. Real support is rare. It's not found in the people who flood your comments or throw around words like "are proud of you" when you're on top. It's found in the quiet ones, the ones who don't need to be seen, but who are always there, steady, consistent, true. These are the people who smile at your growth even when they're going through pain of their own. They don't see your wins as a threat. They see them as a reason to hope. And those people, those are the ones you protect, because in a world full of masks, their sincerity is gold. Too often, we confuse proximity with loyalty. Just because someone is always around doesn't mean they truly care. There are people who show up for the photos, the moments, the milestones, but not for the hard parts. They'll pose next to your success, but vanish the moment you're not shining. And you have to learn how to tell the difference. Learn to look past the noise, past the alike-say and the cheers, and ask, who would still be clapping if no one else was watching? Who would celebrate me if they had nothing to gain? The real ones don't need an invitation to be proud of you. They don't need proof. They feel your success as if it were their own. They celebrate you in private, defend you in public, and uplift you in your absence. These are the people who talk about your strength when you're not in the room. The ones who pour belief into your dreams without turning it into competition. For competition. And when you find them, hold them close. Because their kind of support doesn't make noise. It makes impact. And that kind of energy is sacred. Let them fade. If someone only shows up when there's a spotlight, let them chase that light somewhere else. You need people who are there in the shadows too. When things are quiet, when you're uncertain, when there's nothing to post about. That's where real relationships are built. Not in performance, but in presence. And the irony is the quieter your wins, the louder the truth becomes. It reveals who is genuine and who is simply riding the wave of your success. Not everyone around you is clapping for you. Some are just clapping to blend in. When you choose to protect your happiness, it doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means filtering the world. It means filtering the world.